Hey guys, and welcome to my top 5 melee in 8.1.5. I don't want to say this is a definite list in any order really, because a lot of the melees are pretty even right now. There's pros and cons to all of them, but there's really only like a few shitty melee classes, and those being like the obvious ones of Sub-Rogue, Enhancement Shaman, because it's just immobile, doesn't really have great heals. Enhancement Shaman, Frosty Kate, like just avoid those, and I'd say you're probably in a good spot. But we're talking about the good classes, and I guess starting it off is Ret Pally. Ret Pally, the top-rated 2v2 player is Ret Pally, or somewhere up there. I'm not sure if he's top-rated anymore, but Ret Pallies are definitely a force to be reckoned with now, as they always have been, really. You pretty much slap 15,000s every other, I'd say every like 3 globals or something like that, you can get a Templar's Verdict off, which literally just hits for about 15,000. That's just baseline, baseline damage. This isn't even counting the burst, which now Avenging Wrath increases crit chance by 20% as well as damage and healing, and also cause your next Templar's Verdict to crit every time. So whenever you pop wings, your first Templar's Verdict will crit, on top of the crit chance, on top of the damage reduction, or damage increase, and the healing increase as well. On top of that, we have a lot of utility as usual. We have Lay on Hands, Bubble, Divine Shield, or Divine Shield is Bubble. Blessing Protection is what I was talking about. Shield of Vengeance is also another noteworthy thing here. If there is only one target around you, and they pop the Shield of Vengeance and it crits, it can probably crit anywhere from 70,000 to 80,000. Single target damage as long as there's one target around you. If there's more than one target around you, then it's going to be split between all those targets around you. So ideally, you want to get this off when there's only one target. Another reason Ret Pally is really good right now is because they came out with a trait that weaves Divine Storm back into our rotation. Thank God, even though this should just be baseline. Your attacks have a chance to make your next Divine Storm free and deal additional damage. That's all I really need to say about that. You actually are able to use Divine Storm in your rotation now. On top of that, every time you also spend a Holy Power spending ability, such as Divine Storm whenever it procs, or Templar's Verdict whenever you actually have that Holy Power for it, you do get a stack of Selfless Healer. Once you get 4 of these stacks, it increases the healing of your next Flash of Light by 40% and also reduces the cast time of it, making it an instant cast. So pretty much, let's just sum up what's already been said here. You do a fuck ton of damage. Your burst is outrageous. Your survival's outrageous with Lay on Hands, Divine Shield, Blessing Protection, Shield of Vengeance, and also Regenerating if you're a Zandalari. Thank God. We also have cooldown reduction and physical damage reduction in this row, along with some mobility, but our mobility is really our only weak spot. Let's talk about Honor Talents as well, because why not? We have a instantly removes all stun, silence, fear, and horror effects from the friendly target and reduces the duration of such effects by 60% for 5 seconds. Pretty much this is a healer cleanse with a buff that lasts for 5 seconds that reduces the duration of crowd control abilities. We also have another noteworthy thing here, which I always forget about. Retribution. When any party or raid member dies within 40 yards, you gain 20% increased damage and 30% reduced damage taken. So if you use this with a Berserking, which just Retribution and Berserking itself is a 50% damage increase, along with wings, you have a 70% damage increase. If you take a saltwater potion, that's another 30% damage increase, I think, around there. I don't know, I probably have one in my inventory somewhere. Let's see. It's either 30% damage increase or 50. Okay, so it's 30. So essentially, you have the possibility of getting 100% damage increase. This isn't even counting, like, proc potions or just normal potions that you can use on top of it as well. Not even counting trinkets as well. So pretty much, Ret Pally just slaps right now. I don't think there's really a downside to it other than their mobility's kind of bad. And any Ret Pally that says Ret Pallies aren't in a good spot, they're just straight up lying to your face. So reasons why Unholy's probably one of the top ranked DPS specs right now for both Battlegrounds and Arena. Necrotic Strike. A vicious attack that converts 7% of their max health and healing absorption. So essentially, you can pretty much do your normal rotation and absorb healing that the enemy takes. This is really broken in Arena. If you don't think it is, then you're a fool. I don't know. There's literally teams built around Unholy DK right now. So that's just Necrotic. We're not even talking about our cooldowns, which increase haste by 20%, a raise in Abomination, which does like 5,000 auto attacks and also applies your damage over time. We also have a stun. We also have an anti-magic zone, which, especially with the current Warlock, Destro Warlock meta right now, is really, really fucking good. We also have our own magic absorption from anti-magic shell. We also have transfusion. which is pretty much just a let me top myself off real quick in front of your own eyes. And it's really annoying to see, but it's awesome when you're actually playing on Holy Death Knight. We also have ranged. Pretty much you can play a ranged playstyle, even though most people play with Infected Claws. You have a damage over time effect, which is already spread, which spreads automatically so you don't have to dot everyone, and also just does a general shit ton of damage. Oh, we'll look at the damage, because I'm pretty sure this is unholy. Never mind, it's not. Let's not look at that. What else? We have Death Pact, which it heals you for 50% of your max health. Also really strong. Usually if you use Death Pact and Transfusion, you can top yourself off in no time. We also have, let's see, I know there's another noteworthy thing here. Reanimation. It's something you don't see a lot, but if someone really knows how to play with this talent, it's really annoying. For the most part, it just does 10% of the enemy's health and shadow damage, which is pretty strong if you can just get someone to keep someone immobile. This is kind of where The Walking Dead comes in, or I don't even know what it's called. If that's the actually arena team name. Windwalker Death Knight is where this comes into play, because you just summon all these and they do a ton of damage. But I'd say that's like really the only reasons Unholy DKs are strong right now, other than the fact that we just have a ton of defensives, and a common theme is that we're just not mobile. Like with Ret Pally, our only weakness is that we're not as mobile as we were in Legion, because we don't have Wraithwalk anymore, but we do have Death's Advance, which kind of helps every now and then. We can also empower our pet to pretty much be a roided up, like glorified hunter pet for the most part, along with our Abomination, along with our Unholy Frenzy, and Apocalypse. Your burst can be really, really deadly if you actually get your Abomination to live for a little bit longer, and people don't actually focus it. So in review, Unholy DK. Incredible self-heals, incredible magic absorption, decent team utility with anti-magic zone, which can pretty much absorb 60% of damage taken for 10 seconds, which is really, really strong. And, of course, the damage over time and pet pressure. That's, I'd say, what makes Unholy DK strong. We're not even counting. And then, obviously, Necrotic as well. Like, just all this added on top of Necrotic. You don't even think. Like, even if they took away Necrotic from Unholy DK, it'd probably still be decent. But the fact that we have a healing absorption, I'd say on par with Maledict. Not on par with Maledict, but if you get like 3 stacks of this up, it's probably going to be the same healing absorption as the Maledict that you can just apply forever. So, that's why Unholy DK is probably one of the strongest melees currently. So Havoc Demon Hunter holds a special place in my heart, pretty much for my character name only though. It's one of those classes that really didn't get that fucked over from artifact traits going away, but it did get weakened a little bit, I'd say, is the best description. So one of the most appealing things about Demon Hunter is their mobility. Their mobility for the most part is crazy. If you really want to see, I'll showcase the mobility here. Not even running forward, but this is really handy when it comes to Resto Druids and Mistweaver Monks, which are the best healers right now. You can pretty much stick on top of those as much as you want for the most part, as long as you time your distance abilities decently. So we have Vengeful Retreat, which does that. You do a cool little backflip for style points. We have 2 Fell Dashes. I'm not moving, by the way. And we have a Demonic Leap. So we closed all that distance. Not moving, not even pressing your character movement forward ability. Or key, whatever you want to call it. Just using Fell Dash, Vengeful Retreat, and Demonic Form. I guess that's really all I wanted to show you there. Their ability to just be super, super mobile. We also just do a shit ton of damage, and it's really, really unforgiving. We have this ability that does, I don't even know, 1.5 thousand damage every 1 second, on top of our Blade Dance, which gets buffed, which also makes us dodge abilities by 100% on an 8-second cooldown, on top of our Blur, which increases your dodge chance by 50%, reduces all damage taken by 35%, also on a 1-minute cooldown. We also have Darkness, pretty much makes you immune to damage if you take cover of Darkness, which I'll get into later. Literally makes you immune to damage. We also have this Fly in the Sky ability, Rain from Above, which I'd say for the most part makes you immune to melee attacks because you're obviously in the sky. And then you also do 10% of percent max health and damage every time you're in the sky, and you press that one button that shows up on your bar whenever you use that ability. On top of what I've already mentioned, we have Demonic and Demon Form, which if you don't know what it does, it gives you a ton of haste, buffs your Blade Dance and Chaos Strike, and also gives you Leech. This is already amplified by your Soul Rending. We also have Netherwalk, which pretty much increases movement speed and makes you immune to damage. This is really strong against Windwalker Monks. You can Netherwalk a Touch of Death, and you will completely just not take any damage from the Touch of Death whatsoever. In my opinion, that's really fucking stupid, but that's how it's designed. On top of that, there's really, I don't know, there's not much else. We have a Purge, I guess. We have a Purge, an AoE stun, and an AoE immunity. So that's nice. We also have Mana Break, which I've seen take a decent amount. Deals 5% of the target's max health and chaos damage, increases the mana cost of their spells by 30%. Not bad, not bad. We also have Mana Rift, which is like, I don't want to say the go-to, but it's really, really strong in Arena. Manifests a 6-yard wide Mana Rift under the target. After 2.5 seconds, it erupts, dealing 8% of the target's maximum health and chaos damage, and also destroys 8% of the target's enemy mana, if present. So it's pretty much Mana Burn, or what Mana Burn was, except you have to stun the target and then use this on top of them or below them, whatever you want to call it. Really strong for Arena, used pretty often. In total, we just have a lot of really useful honor talents. We have Eye of Leothris, which just does 5% of the target's health and shadow damage every time they use a harmful ability. This can be cleansed, though, so that should be noted, but still, even in Battlegrounds, this will just completely destroy someone. Reverse Magic is really good against dot classes, literally removes all of your harmful effects and sends them back to the caster. We also have Detainment, which pretty much buffs our one kind of CC, not counting Chaos Nova, our Imprison. And, yeah, I'd say we covered all the points there for Havoc Demon Hunter. In conclusion, really fucking mobile. Decent self-heals, even though you wouldn't expect it. Decent defensives with Darkness, Blur, and Rain from Above. And then, obviously, those defensives are just amplified whenever you're in Demon form, and you're doing damage, and then you're getting health back from doing damage from Leech. We also have a Purge, which pretty useful right now, especially with all the, like, Fire Mages, because you can Purge Combustion, Purge Druid Heal over time effects, all that jazz. So, Assassination Rogue. I really don't think I need to explain this that much, because we all know the plus sides of playing a Rogue. You pretty much control their team, and just control and destroy, I guess, is the name of the game of Rogue right now. If you ever watch just Peekaboo, obviously the best Rogue in the fucking game, he sets up kills beautifully. It's amazing. Also, another reason we're really strong, our burst is actually just really, really strong. I'd say it's one of the best bursts in the game right now, mainly because Vendetta increases your damage of abilities and auto attacks by 30%. That's all I really need to say about that. Toxic Blade is also something worth mentioning, increases the nature damage of your abilities by 30%. If you use these together, you buff your Envenom by 60%, which I don't need to explain that really, I think. We also have a healing reduction poison, which really, really strong. Any healing reduction is generally a good thing to have in Arena, especially in 2s. I think in 2s it's amplified a decent amount, because you already start at dampening in 2s, and then that's amplified by the 15% healing reduction of wound poison, which kind of makes me sad we don't have deadly poison anymore, but, you know, we have to use wound poison for the healing reduction, which is why they got rid of deadly poison. We also have, I don't want to say a spammable damage reduction, but a 30% damage reduction on a 15-second cooldown that only costs 35 energy. Pretty nice. Other than that, obviously, we have Kidney, which stuns people for 6 seconds. We have Blind, which just blinds someone, and then after Blind, you can always sap and get a decent setup off of that. So that's why Blind's super strong. We also have Cloak of Shadows and Vanish, which are good for getting Blanket Garrots or Blanket Silences on people, and also Cheap Shots. And obviously, Cloak cleanses you of magic effects. We also have Crimson Vial. Not as good as it used to be, such as like Recuperate back in the day. I absolutely loved Recuperate, but that's gone. Now we have Crimson Vial, which is just like, you use it, you gain 30% of your health back. Most of the time you use it with Feint, so you'll take reduced damage, get health back, and then that relieves some of the pressure for your healer. Let's talk about honor talents here. Smoke Bomb, pretty much like a signature move. For the most part, it just makes it so you can't hit anyone within the Smoke Bomb. You always use this one. The healer comes out of a CC. You use Smoke Bomb, they're about to get a heal off. You use Smoke Bomb, they won't get the heal off because they can't see the person they're trying to heal. I think that's really the only really, really exceptionally good honor talent here. Other than that, it's just kind of whatever floats your boat there. And, yeah, I think I covered every point about Assassination Rogue. It's pretty cut and dry. We just have a lot of control, have really, really good burst, have healing reduction, have decent defensives. We also have evasion too, which I forgot to mention. Increases dodge chance by 100% for 10 seconds. So in conclusion, healing reduction, incredible burst. So this one's going to be a General Warrior. I know most people play arms in 3v3, but I know there's a kind of 2v2 Fury scene. And personally, I just like Fury in general. So that's why I'm just saying General Warrior. Generally, Warrior is pretty tanky, just does a shit ton of damage. We'll talk about arms and talk about Fury specifically. So arms has a 20% damage reduction both incoming and outgoing. We also have a cleave ability, naturally. 30-second cooldown pretty much cleaves anyone really good in 2v2 or 3v3. Our cooldowns are pretty low, also reduced by a certain talent. Mortal Strike just hits like a truck, also provides a healing reduction on the target by 25%, really adds up over time. We have Avatar, which just buffs our damage by 20%, reduces or removes roots. We have this, which buffs our damage by 30% as well. These two cooldowns are reduced by anger management, so that's something to keep in mind. We also have a ranged stun, and we have a distanced execute now. Execute has a 15-yard range. I guess another thing that makes Arms Warrior taken over Fury is the fact that even if you just use a Mortal Strike execute or Blade Storm, it'll apply a decent damage over time effect. Doing that math in my head right now, increased by Mastery, does about 2,000 damage every second on top of whatever damage you use to apply that, whether it be Mortal Strike, Blade Storm, or Execute. So, that's nice. I guess we'll talk about Fury now. We also have Duel. I think this is something worth mentioning, and War Banner, I guess, as well. So Duel, if you use it on someone, it'll pretty much reduce the damage they do to the person they're attacking unless they choose to focus you. So let's say there's people running towards your healer, you use Duel, they'll do 50% reduced damage to the healer. Unless they attack you, then they'll do full damage. Another thing worth mentioning is War Banner. Increases movement speed by 30% and reduces the duration of incoming crowd control effects by 50% to all allies within 30 yards of the War Banner. Lasts 15 seconds, a 1.5 minute cooldown. Pretty useful. I don't use this because my brain's not big enough and I don't arena enough, but any high-rated Arms Warrior uses this all the time. You'll see it all the time, because it's really, really strong. Another thing worth mentioning is Disarm, even though I really don't think... Like, everyone knows Warriors have a Disarm, and so does every other class these days. Let's talk about Fury now, because this is the one I really, really like. Most of the time I just play Fury over Arms, but Arms has its place. Let's talk about Fury. Yeah, and there's so much to talk about. Let me see how much Enrage it buffs our haste. Enrage buffs our haste by 25%. And the uptime on that is pretty much, I'd say 70% of the time you have that Enrage effect, which increases damage. It also increases your haste. It also increases your movement speed. I think that's all I really need to mention there. Obviously, if you have 25% haste at a 70% uptime, your global cooldown is going to be reduced a lot, and your damage abilities are going to be getting thrown out a lot more, therefore you're going to be applying more pressure. Another thing worth mentioning about Fury Warrior is the self-heals of it are absolutely fucking ridiculous. If you just use Bloodthirst and a certain honor talent, let me look for it, Battle Trance, heals you. So Battle Trance and Bloodthirst. Battle Trance heals 3% of your max health for 3 seconds, essentially 1% of your max health every 1 second, on top of the Bloodthirst heal, which heals you for 6% of your max health every time you use it, and it sometimes has a reduced cooldown through Slaughterhouse, which Bloodthirst deals an additional damage and healing when it hits a target under 50% health, reduces its remaining cooldown by 1 second. Essentially, you're your own healer as a Fury Warrior. You don't really need a healer. If you ever get low, you can always just use Enrage Regen, which, for the most part, just tops you off most times. I don't think there's ever been a situation where I really haven't been topped off from Enrage Regen. It also reduces the damage you take by 30%, but you really only use it for the heal from Bloodthirst. We also have Fear. I don't think that's really worth mentioning, though. And, I guess Siegebreaker is worth mentioning because it's pretty unique, along with Recklessness. Recklessness just increases Rage Regen. Pretty much lets you get more Rampages off, and Rampage hits like a truck, so that's the main reason that's a thing. It also increases crit chance, what I already said. This one is interesting. 30-second cooldown, 10-second duration of a 15% damage increase, also generates stun rage. I think the main thing about Siegebreaker that I love is the low cooldown of it and the damage increase. You don't even think about the damage increase because it's literally part of your rotation, because it generates rage and does decent damage, but if you apply this to a healer, apply it to anyone you're hitting with a Berserking, you'll really see the difference in damage. Personally, like, summarizing Warrior, I think Fury for Battlegrounds in 2v2, Arms for 3v3. You can run Arms in 2v2 as well, but it's really up to your personal preference. I just like Fury a lot more. Another thing worth mentioning is sometimes whenever you're enraged, you take 10% reduced damage while Enrage is active. You can also take this charges increase the healing of Bloodthirst by 250%. So it's really between these two. Pretty strong. And honorable mentions. I'm not even gonna log on the honorable mentions because just because I don't fucking know. So the honorable mentions that I didn't include in this list just because they're not my personal favorite, or I just personally don't prefer them over the classes that I've already mentioned, are Windwalker Monk and Survival Hunter. Both of these specs have a good place right now. They're both played pretty commonly. Windwalker Monk, pretty common. Survival Hunter, pretty common as well. Survival Hunter's really dot heavy. Really good against Resto Druids because it pretty much negates all those heal over time effects that they put up with their damage over time effects. And then if you have another arena partner, just adding to the damage, your damage over time will pretty much cancel out the heal over times, and then your other partner will be doing the damage to lower that person's health. For Windwalker Monk, I don't really think... It's like a self-healing Demon Hunter with a little bit less mobility, but a lot more burst. You can... If you time it right, correctly with a Windwalker Monk, you can completely just destroy someone in one stun, which is amazing. And that's like the only redeemable thing, other than, obviously, Karma, Dampen Harm, all that jazz. But that's my top 5. In conclusion, no order here. I think they're all equal. In the right hands, it's really whatever you play the best. So if you're going to play a melee in 8.1.5, I'd suggest you play Ret Pally, Unholy DK, Havoc Demon Hunter, Assassination Rogue or Warrior, and then the honorable mentions you can play as well, Windwalker Monk and Survival Hunter. But that's up to you. It's up to you what you guys want to play. When it comes down to it, what is the most fun and what's the best is what you play the best. So, yeah, thanks for watching, guys. If you guys liked the video, like, comment, subscribe, description, bell notification thing, and I'll see you guys next time.